Really messy story time. When I was a freshman in high school, I had just transferred from private school to public school, so I had no friends, I knew nobody, and I didn't know anybody's reputation. Nobody decided to warn me about this girl. Anyways, so it was fall, it was football season, I was still new, and I had about like 3 friends, and we all hung out in this group. And I could actually walk to school. It was about like a 5-10 minute walk from my house. And the football game had pretty much ended, so we decided to leave to beat the crowd. And on my way home, some lady like hits me with her car. When I say hit me with her car, I don't mean she was going at like 50 miles an hour and my body rolled up on her windshield. It was a slight tap and I fell over. So she gets out of the car, first asks if I'm okay, and then proceeds to scream at me and threaten to call the cops because my body hit her car. And I'm standing there with my friends, and we just decide to start running away from her. And at this point, I'm like 2 minutes away from my house. I am posting part 2 right now.
Storytime of how I found out that my little sister's teacher hid cameras in their bathroom. So my sister at the time was in 2nd grade, and they have bathrooms inside their classroom. Well, it's just one bathroom inside the classroom that they all use. And at that school, 4th grade and below, every single classroom has a bathroom inside the room so the kids don't have to wander the halls. So parents' conferences that night started at 6 o'clock, and ours was scheduled for about 6:30. But we ended up not being able to make it at 6:30 because we had to do something, so we ended up coming around 7:45. Which at the time, everybody was already gone. So we go, and my parents sit down with the teacher and they talk. We had gone to Sonic before that, and I got a blue raspberry slushie, and I ended up spilling that all over the floor. So I run into the bathroom and I grab a bunch of paper towels, and right when I got in there, something just felt really weird to me. So after I cleaned it up, I walked back into the bathroom, and in the top right of the bathroom, in the corner, there was a box with a hole in it. I text my mom what I saw, and right after I get out of the bathroom, she says she has to go to the bathroom. I'm running out of time, like, for this crazy part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my sister's teacher was hiding cameras in their bathroom. So continuing on with the story, my mom goes into the bathroom, and I'm not sure what she did in there, but my crazy mother comes out with the box that was around the camera, cussing, and I could not get her to stop yelling. The teacher then says that they have that in there for safety reasons. They have a camera in a 2nd grader's bathroom for safety reasons. Yeah, okay. Anyways, my mom was really mad, and they ended up calling the non-emergency number for the police. So then when they got there, they had to search his phone. I don't know what the police really do in this type of situations, but they ended up searching his phone. And on his phone, they found recordings of the students in the bathroom, and they found zoomed-in screenshots from the recordings of the children's private areas. My sister's teacher had also had recordings of other teachers using the bathroom, and zoomed-in pictures of their private areas. Yes, this teacher is in jail, and I'm pretty sure there might be an online article about it. But it's crazy to think that a disgusting person like this would set up cameras in a child's bathroom.
Story time. A girl named Akira Kendrick sent me this story, and the background of it is that her dad was very abusive to her mother, and her mother got custody of Akira, and her dad was not happy about that. Anyway, so Akira was with her aunt and her cousins at her grandmother's house, all on her mother's side, and her dad stops by to say hello. And Akira's outside playing with her cousin, and her dad comes up to her and grabs her arm and says, "Do you want to go to Walmart with me?" And at the time, she's only 7, so all she hears is toy aisle, so she says, "Yes, let's go." So they get in the car, they head to Walmart, she gets some really nice pom-poms, and then he says, "Okay, let's go back to your grandmother's house." So he starts driving and he gets on the highway, and Akira knows that her grandmother's house is right around the corner from Walmart, so he does not need to get on the highway. So she says, "Dad, where are we going?" And he gets really mad and says, "Shut up, sit down, it does not matter." So Akira's in the back seat, she's really scared, and she just shuts her mouth. So after being in the car for a while, they eventually arrived at this really old, abandoned, beat up house. And when they walk in, Akira sees about 25 people and she does not know any of them. Her dad brings her to a room, puts her in a little closet, throws her some toys and her pom-poms and says, "Play." Part 2 is coming right now. Part 2 of Akira's dad literally kidnapping her. So when they get to the house, Akira is really scared. She doesn't know any of these like 25 people. Her dad brings her to a room, throws her in a closet, puts some toys in there and says, "Play." So after about an hour of being in a little closet with some toys, she finally decides to get up and go look for her dad. So she opens the door and starts looking around, and there's no one in the house. There's not even a single trace of somebody ever being there. So of course she starts freaking out and crying. She doesn't know where she is. She's so far away from her grandmother's house, and she doesn't have a phone. And so eventually, after 3 hours, she hears somebody. She looks up and her dad is standing there, and he says, "Come on, let's go, the cops are outside." So basically, Akira's aunt called the cops and they had a search warrant for him. They ended up finding her dad and they said to him, "If you don't take us to her, you will go to jail." And obviously, from what I just said, he finally took them to her at this random old abandoned house, and they found her. And they ended up putting him in jail anyways, because why not? 2 years in jail and 1 year on probation. Don't steal children, people. Don't steal them.
My uncle tried to kidnap me. Story time. Growing up, I was really close to my uncle. I mean, he was like my best friend. But then something happened between him and the rest of my family, and I wasn't allowed to see him anymore. So at this point, a week had passed since I seen my uncle. I was at school about to get on the bus to go home, but I got a text message from my uncle. And it said, "Hey, I'm out front. Your dad asked me to pick you up." And I thought it was weird, but I didn't think too much about it. So instead of getting on the bus, I found him and got in his car. And once I got in the car, he started acting really strange. So I sent a text to my dad and let him know that uncle was taking me home. Or so I thought he was taking me home. But instead of going to my house, he started driving past my neighborhood. And right in that moment, my dad texted me back and said, "Get out of that car. Do not go with your uncle. He is a bad man." So the moment we came to a red light, I jumped out of the car and started running for my life. And instead of chasing after me, he peeled off. And he was never seen again.
Really messy story time. When I was a freshman in high school, I had just transferred from private school to public school, so I had no friends, I knew nobody, and I didn't know anybody's reputation. Nobody decided to warn me about this girl. Anyways, so it was fall, it was football season, I was still new, and I had about like 3 friends, and we all hung out in this group. And I could actually walk to school. It was about like a 5-10 minute walk from my house. And the football game had pretty much ended, so we decided to leave to beat the crowd. And on my way home, some lady like hits me with her car. When I say hit me with her car, I don't mean she was going at like 50 miles an hour and my body rolled up on her windshield. It was a slight tap and I fell over. So she gets out of the car, first asks if I'm okay, and then proceeds to scream at me and threaten to call the cops because my body hit her car. And I'm standing there with my friends, and we just decide to start running away from her. And at this point, I'm like 2 minutes away from my house. I'm posting part 2 right now. Part 2 of my messy story time. So the lady hits me with her car, and then gets out and says, "Are you okay?" And then proceeds to scream at me and threaten to call the cops. This was before Karens were invented, but she was probably like the birth giver of Karens. So I didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do. She kind of got back in her car, and so I started running away because I thought she was going to call the cops for hitting me with her car. And then we get to my house, and for some odd reason, can't tell you to this day why, I gave the girl that was in the group the garage code to my house. It was 2 girls, 2 guys, me and the girl, and then 2 other guys. She was dating one of the guys. My dad was infuriated with me for giving out our passcode to some random stranger, and I get that now. But I was like 14, because I come to find out that she is a literal psychopath. My dad's a psychologist, and he can pretty much off the bat see if something's wrong with you. Like, you can spend 2 minutes with him and he'll tell you that you have ADHD. Part 3 is on its way.
This story time is a warning to please be cautious if you ever speak to someone over the internet. So when I was 14 and still in high school, my local area was going through a weird stage where someone was trying to contact a lot of the 14-year-olds and see if they wanted to join an escort agency. This was done over Facebook, and of course, most of the girls just ignored these messages. However, my friends and I thought it'd be funny if we ended up messaging this person back. Obviously, bad idea. We weren't serious about meeting up with this person, we really just thought it was a big joke. However, once I was by myself, I continued to message this person. They kept commenting on how beautiful I was and said that I was like a sister to them. I was obviously very impressionable at 14 years old and was wanting all the attention I could get. So I continued to message the person on the other side of the phone for the next couple of weeks, not realizing that I was being groomed. After the next couple of weeks, I was sitting in class and I got an extremely panicked message from my mom saying that I need to come home immediately and that she needs my phone. I guess a family friend of ours had told her about the messages and had also seen a lot of the escort advertisements. So my mom read through the messages, quickly called the police, and the conclusion was to block the account and be more careful next time. I thought it was case closed, but I was wrong. Stay tuned for part 2 and follow me on Instagram.
Didn't want it to come to this again, but let's expose some people. Some of you may remember, but a while ago I did this ad for this phone case called Pluto Case, and it did pretty well. I made it private now, but we'll get to that. It all started when these assholes reached out to me asking to promote their product. And I said yes, but I charge for a promotional video. They said, "What's your rate?" I said $300, which I soon found out later that was really cheap. And they didn't like the price, so they said that they went to the same school as me and that they want the homie price. It's so coincidental that they mentioned that after I said my price. And I was like, "You go to tech?" And they're like, "Yeah, class of 2021. I asked them who they are. They just said some random names, which I know that aren't their names. And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And they're like, "Oh, so do you want to give us the homie price?" I'm like, "No, you assholes. Why would I do that? I don't know you." Like, these guys ask me to do something for them, and then they're so cheap that they lie to me after that. And then the other day I was chilling on Snapchat and I see my face in an ad. Part 2 is coming right now.